everyone, on today's AgVenture we will be visiting Timberlier Island to learn more about how this small, uninhabited island is a crucial line of defense for Louisiana's coastline. Look at the following images. Do these pictures have anything in common? Write down what you think these images are or what they have in common on your worksheet. All of the previous images showed some of the impacts of coastal storms, including hurricanes. The images also showed some of Louisiana's different lines of defense against these coastal storms. For example, you may have noticed that in one of the photos, the homes were raised off of the ground. This was so that floodwaters can flow underneath the homes and keep the homes protected. And in another photo, you may have noticed that there were roads that people were using to evacuate away from the path of the storm. An important line of defense for many of our coastal communities are what are known as barrier islands. These islands formed in a natural process over thousands of years as sediment, which is a mud and sand, was deposited by the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River changes course over time. When the river changes course and is no longer bringing fresh sediment to the land, that land will begin to sink or subside. And subsidence and other natural factors like erosion will lead to the development of barrier islands. In modern times, people have altered the course of the Mississippi River. This prevents the river from changing paths and depositing sediments that will build new deltas. As a result, the process of building barrier islands is broken, and current barrier islands are sinking and eroding away. Let's see how a barrier island acts as a line of defense against coastal storms. We're going to do an activity that recreates a miniature ocean with a barrier island and a beach using some everyday materials like sand, water, a plastic box or pan, and something to make waves with. I'm going to build our coastal model for the video, and then you can pause the video and make your own coastal model. So first we're going to pour sand into our box and then push it up against one side to make a beach. Then you're going to use something to represent a beach house. This can be a wooden block, a miniature house, or even a rock. Remember, you can pause here to build your own model and then continue once your model's ready to go. All right, we're going to slowly pour in our water so that it doesn't disturb the beach. And you just need enough water where it's deep enough to create some waves. Here is our beach house. Notice how far away the beach house is from the water's edge. Now let's make some waves. Over time, these waves will move the sand away. This is called erosion. Bigger waves can move larger amounts of sand, and smaller waves will move just a few pieces of sand at a time. Now let's build a barrier island off of our beach in our model. So we're going to pour some more sand that will act as our barrier island. Remember, you can pause here while you build your barrier island. Again, note how far away your house is from the water's edge. Now let's make some waves. Notice this time the waves aren't causing as much erosion on the beach. That's because the barrier island is acting as a line of defense and preventing the waves from reaching the beach at full force. So the barrier island slows down the waves and makes them smaller. Notice how our barrier island is just sand. Now think about if this island had plants on it, like trees and bushes. What effect do you think plants would have on the waves? That's right, the plants would help slow down the waves even more. Barrier islands aren't our only line of defense against coastal storms. Marshes are a kind of wetland that you can find in coastal Louisiana. Their soils are often described as sponges because when floodwaters rise, the soils are able to absorb and slow down those floodwaters. There are also man-made lines of defense. Do you remember the photo of the two fishing boats stranded on the road from the beginning of the video? Why do you think they were stranded? Many roads are built higher than the surrounding area so that they can stop minor floodwaters from moving inland. For example, by building the levees along the Mississippi River, many communities are protected from the seasonal and catastrophic flooding that happens with the river. But the levees have also starved our natural lines of defense, like marshes, from receiving fresh sediment from the river, which is causing them to disappear from subsidence. Other man-made lines of defense include elevated buildings that prevent water damage during minor floods, evacuation routes that help move people out of the way of coastal storms, and our water management systems like storm drains that help remove floodwaters. As you can see, our lines of defense are important for everyone in Louisiana. It takes careful management of our natural and man-made lines of defense to keep the coastal communities safe. Now it's your turn. We want you to create a line of defense for Louisiana. Your line of defense can either reduce flooding or reduce the effects of storm surge on the coast. Send your designs to the Youth Wetlands program and we'll highlight your ideas that help our state. Thank you for joining us on our AgVenture today. We hope you are excited about being a part of helping our coast. If you want to learn more about protecting our wetlands, consider joining your local 4-H program so that you can participate in the Youth Wetlands program.